Welcome back to the WGL EU Season 4, Match Day 3. We are flying through this Super Week, and we have some more incredible games coming up for you today. But obviously, I am joined by my brilliant co-caster, Laughter WOT. And, well, we do have Melly waiting in the wings for you guys. She'll be on a little bit later, but how are you doing today, Ollie?
I'm just happy that you started the show with a compliment, and it's just going to be a good show, I got a
It's a
feeling.
change, you know. I'm trying to be nicer to you this time. But I think we need to look back towards what we've been seeing coming up. Obviously, during the Super Week, we've had a lot of games, a lot of results, and a lot of changes within these lineups. But most of them have been going pretty well so far, and we've seen some great games. But what really stood out to you, recently through the matches we've seen?
So I've been impressed with the Evil Panda squad. That was the last game of yesterday. I think for me that was the most impressive result, 3-0 against Asuba. Denali Sports also showing that they're a strong team without Elian. Virtus Pro, much of the same really, and Kazna Crew need to be tested by one of the older teams. But you can see all the results on the eu.wgleague.net website, and if you just click on one of these results, you can just have a look at what happens with all the statistics. So what maps they won, the kind of damage these guys have done, all really cool stuff on the new website. You can see how these guys got on. So impressive stuff all around. I think for TCM this game didn't test them 100%.
No.
But out of all the teams, I must admit, Drooling Leprechauns are looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with their performance, and I think they can be as well.
Yeah, I think they're improving, which is the thing. Or they look like they're willing to try new things, and they look like they want to kind of, I don't know, give us a little bit of a display of what they've got coming up, because they showed raw talent, but not so much control on it yet, whereas TCM were near on the complete opposite, and it showed a lot of control, a lot of poise. We didn't see too many adaptions, I feel, but still, there's a lot of action to come today. And obviously, speaking of today, we have the games coming up in just a second. Let me take you through some of those, kicking off with Evil Panda Squad up against the Leprechauns, a team who did impress us, but we want to see a little bit more. Why don't you take us through the others?
So Asuba versus TCM will be our second game of today. Asuba obviously losing to Evil Panda Squad yesterday, and TCM beating Drunken Leprechauns. So I'm expecting the bottom two to win these, and I think Kazna as well will beat the German team Wusa just based on yesterday's performance. So I think all in all, the bottom three teams will be able to take these games. I think the top ones have lost their previous matchups and really do have to prove themselves.
Yeah, definitely, but they are also the unknown element. They're still coming into this, trying to prove themselves, showing what they've got coming up. And obviously, speaking about that first game, we can start talking about who these players are, what to expect from them, and what sort of game style they might be bringing to the forefront here, because, the Leprechauns showed some real vim and vigor towards their playstyle, but not too much control. Whereas, what did you feel towards Evil Panda Squad?
So they've had a lot of changes. I ran through them yesterday, but
just highlight it again.
You can kind of see that this isn't the old Evil Panda squad we've known from season 1 to 3. They've not got Zenith, they've not got Sony. They're two ex-team leaders now. It's run by a new multi-show, the man that can. He's such a fantastic player there,
definitely,
especially in the MX 5100. The other players who've joined, we've got Polsved, Nazkozgozmi. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. Eclipse did let me know, but I just can't remember.
We'll work on it. We will work on the pronunciation. We promise you guys.
Precisely, it's quite hard. These Polish names have got a lot of Zs and Ks and stuff like that, and Ms.
It doesn't work with us English, does it?
No, it really doesn't.
We'll work on it, though.
I can get Eclipse right, at least. Eclipse is in there. He's an old standing member.
Pointer, also very good.
Pointer as well.
Yeah.
Raging Potato, your new favourite player.
My favourite name ever.
And
guys at home, obviously,
as well.
If you guys do know the full and proper pronunciation, do feel free to get in touch with us and let us know how we should be saying these guys' names, because they did show some real potential. But I think the biggest thing you mentioned, we hadn't seen them tested. And do you feel the Leprechauns could test them here? They're a little bit of an unknown element. They have a lot of aggression, but will they have the control to really kind of pull through here?
So I think as a new team, it's always hard to have that control and really actually know what to do, because once you have that experience, you have the team members that are able to perform under pressure. It helps you a lot in the games. I think it's something they need to work on, whether they'll be able to beat Evil Panda Squad, who still has some really experienced members, 3 or 4 really experienced members, where Drooling Leprechauns really only have one, that's Muppety, who is their team captain. But I think they're going to get themselves underway. Hopefully they're going to take at least one game back for an Evil Panda Squad. If they do just pull out their pure brilliance, and they are very, very set of skilled players, I think they can end up beating them. And we got Evil Panda Squad, who lack a little bit in aggression. Creativity is not really up there, but the decision making so far has been on point. Fight coordination as well has been pretty fantastic, and I think those two are the most important stats.
And I think we saw a little bit of a glimmer of aggression when we witnessed them on Himmelsdorf. They were willing to make the first move. They were willing to get involved, but they did it with control and poise, which, I don't think we saw the full execution of some of their strategies, but certainly had a glimmer of it. I'm hoping we might see it today, but you guys at home, we want to hear from you about who you think's going to walk away with the victory. Are you behind the new guys to this, the Finns who might be able to surprise the Leprechauns there, or do you feel that maybe Evil Panda squad is a little bit stronger? I think I'm going for EPS here. We saw a good deal of them yesterday. They looked solid, but I'm still not sure. But obviously, guys, head on over towards the normal social media kind of outlets there, either Twitter, Facebook. I can imagine there'll be a poll up nice and quickly so you can guys get your votes through to us. And I'd love to see how you guys vote on this one, because I'm not sold by the Leprechauns just yet. I think they showed some hope, but I think there's a long way for them to go. But you said they might be a team towards the later side of the season to really start showing up here. Do you think that could be the case, improving matchday by matchday?
Yeah, they are a new team, so I think as a team, when you're new, you don't have that experience I've been talking about, and you just maybe not so used to just the format of the league and the way we play. And these guys are playing day in, day out. They're practicing day in, day out, and that's a hard thing to get used to. So as they go through the league, I think the newer teams, we've got 6 of them, are really gonna start testing the older teams a lot more.
Yeah, and that's the big thing here. This season is a lot of old versus new in that sort of aspect. A lot of team changes coming in towards this season. If you look back through the priors, we've obviously got a lot of similar faces, but some of them, as we mentioned, in very different lineups here, in different roles as well. Maybe not all of them being the leaders anymore. Still Mojo mixing in there with a couple of other in-game leaders. We're going to have to see how this goes out. This is a season where we could see some upsets, I feel.
Yeah, it's going to be a season of upsets. As I said right at the beginning of this, this is the most competitive season, in my opinion. I honestly think we've got 12 of the best teams we've ever had in the league, and I think towards the end of the season, we're really going to start seeing a real battle. I think it's going to be a battle of 1 or 2 games, maybe a draw or 2, to really define which our teams will go into the offline finals, which will be happening, obviously, after the last match day.
Well, so we can kind of take it back down to the 2 teams we'll be seeing going head-to-head in just a moment's time. They are getting themselves ready to get underway pretty soon, obviously just talking through the last couple of details. But if you were in, obviously, the Leprechauns' shoes right now and you were facing off against Evil Panda squad, a solid team with, a veritable feast of experience on their side, how would you come into this as the new guys, as the newcomers, even as a collective in a competitive team, to try and take them down?
So I would have watched the game yesterday between Evil Panda squad and Asuba and just got an idea, maybe not of the tactics, because we haven't had enough match days to really see what kind of steadfast tactics Evil Panda squad has, but just have a look at the way Evil Panda squad is playing, the kind of general feel, the play style of them, which are their playmakers, who do we need to focus down first of all the team members. And I think that goes to show is obviously News Marty Show, who's been doing so fantastic work, and the Pointer as well comes to mind. But yeah, they need to be looking at the general feeling of Evil Panda squad and look for their weaknesses and exploit them to the best they can. I mean, at the end of the day, Drooling Leprechauns have the ability, they have the skill, they have the team members, they just need to get their execution right.
Well, I think the first map coming up will be Mines. We'll wait on the tank picks to come rolling in towards us, but we can kind of take what you were saying in aspect then towards Mines and what to expect from this, because EPS have always been quite solid on this map. I haven't seen them pulling out anything incredible like C-Play, for example, but there's been a lot of overall map use now coming in. A lot of teams fancying the village towards the northeast side of the map and happily trying new tactics. Now we saw a little bit of glimmer of hope from New Multishow and Co. Where they did that, I think it was the 3-13-90 pushes along through the village, and actually put on a lot of pressure with, I think, was it the T-32s that were more by the mound
in the middle, yeah.
Yeah, so there was a tactic on this, and do you think that maybe the Leprechauns watched that and maybe think of a way around it, or do they just have to depend on the individual skill here?
I think it's obviously a good idea to watch the tactics of the other team. I'm not sure what Drooling Leprechauns have been practicing in their trainings, and if they've got a good tactic nailed down there, they should obviously stick to the plan. But Evil Panda squad's tactic yesterday was really good. It worked perfectly. They executed it perfectly. There's a lot of little decisions they had to make and get 100% correct for it to actually to work.
Definitely.
If Drooling Leprechauns can kind of duplicate it with their own twist, maybe with a different lineup, it's definitely going to give them their own flavor and their own just confidence, because it often is hard to win the first game. They need to just win the first game, get their confidence, And once they do that, it's going to be easier for them going forwards.
Now, looking at EPS's lineup coming in, that doesn't look like what we saw yesterday, but it seems very decisive, or maybe looks as though they have a plan here. What do you think we might be seeing? And actually, take me through the Leprechauns lineup as well. Quite decisive in its own right.
Yeah, they've gone pretty fast and pretty furious here. Triple T69 double AMX 3090 for Drooling for Evil Panda Squad, and for Drooling Leprechauns it's going to be double AMX 3090 WZ132 T32 T69 double T1. So Drooling Leprechauns almost certainly going for that initial push onto the hill, using the WZ132 for that sustained damage before the 3090s have reloaded, then having the 3090s there as backup to provide the real damage at the end of the day. Evil Panda Squad with two 3090s, obviously usually indicative of not pushing towards the hill, so they're probably going to stay away from that, and with the three T69s, more of a hull down play for them.
Well, we can only wait and see, because we're just about ready for Mines. So, ladies and gents, it will be the Drunken Leprechauns up against EPS in the first match here. Mines to kick us off with. In the south, it's going to be the Leprechauns. In the north, EPS in red. And why don't you take us through what we're seeing so far with those tanks now in mind?
So a little bit strange actually for an Evil Panda Squad, because they haven't chosen that third AMX 3090 like we usually see from the northern spawn. Instead, just going for two. So the push on the hill is going to be not an option for them. They know that Drooling Leprechauns are probably going to go for the hill, so they're going to try and set up. They've got the small guns for it.
Well, the fire's coming in. Message is going low very early on. He's in trouble. He's on his own on the top of that hill. Krillix and Sensi had to back away, not able to support at all. Is he in a bit of a predicament here? Because he is very much out on a limb now.
Yeah, he is in a little bit of a predicament, and he's down to 206 HP in that WZ132, and at the moment Evil Panda Squad just having all the answers, using that small 75mm in the AMX 3090. Yeah, only does 150 or so damage, but that's enough when you're shooting a tank that only has 1005 HP. So good stuff there from Evil Panda Squad. Good predictive play, and really countering, even with blind picks, the kind of tactic that Drooling Leprechauns wants to go for. Raging Potato does get his ammo rack taken down, so he probably won't be repairing it right now, but when he does go and reload, he will be. Obviously using that autoloader, that's always a good idea. But for Evil Panda Squad, they just need to keep that pressure onto Drooling Leprechauns. Drooling Leprechauns will have the T32, which is going to get even stronger as it goes into the game, and and their focus is going to be into the middle. They've got the tank on the top. In the middle, going to be able to spot out the Lighthouse Island and over towards the right side, and maybe even go for a pincer movement. But Evil Panda Squad, make sure they don't peak too much, don't want to lose too much HP. They've already gained a lot of HP, so just don't lose it. And at the moment, Eclipse, Raging Potato, New Multishow, and Lucas Isti have all taken a shot each.
Well, so take me through the options here. Would you rather be in EPS's shoes with a little bit of a spread of damage received throughout? Obviously, only Yankees, I think, as a damage-dealing tank, not actually taking a shell so far. Or would you prefer to be in the Leprechaun shoes with one tank severely damaged and having the rest near on sitting pretty?
I always prefer to have just one tank damaged, because then the damage has been spread over. I don't know, it depends what situation. It's always situational.
Very true.
You do want to spread the damage across your team as much as you can, because then you can kind of push in with all team members at the same time. But it also depends on the situation, because if you have all your tanks damaged, then the other team always has a weak spot to push in. But also it depends on the HP the damage tanks have. If it's low HP, then it's a good idea to push in either way. But Sensei is going to start pushing up in that AMX 3090 New Motor Show. Will be able to connect that first shot. Second shot's going to go out as well, but that's collateral damage for Drooling Leprechauns, they do manage to get themselves a second tier 8 tank up onto that hill.
Yeah, brave move from Sensei there, actually pushing up with that 1390, not receiving too much damage, and actually Numulcho receives one back, followed by a second, the 1390 who he previously got 2 towards. Oh, this is lovely play from Sensei, 2 shots coming through, taking Numulcho down to 217, and for a captain within this lineup, a man with vast experience, that's a real danger early on. Numulcho has had to back the hell up and try and find some cover here, maybe not the ideal cover, but you know, sometimes you got to take what you've been given, and actually the Leprechauns not in a bad position now. They've pretty much evened the score, and also I feel the damage received is against EPS now.
This is a great position for Drooling Leprechauns because they've forced Numulcho out of the battle completely now. If Numulcho basically has 2 options, he can either drop down, and I think it would have been a good idea for Drooling Leprechauns to have a tank in H1, H2 to be able to focus him out when he does drop down. But either way, he's out of the equation. Now Drooling Leprechauns, all they need to do is push up the hill with a lot of their tanks, with all of their tanks, all 5, and go 5 versus 4. And they will obviously end up winning that engagement, but they don't seem to have cottoned on to that fact. They probably want to push around. Snakefin Guy in that T-32 has dropped back a little bit, and maybe he's going to start focusing toward that island.
And they've actually pulled back message there as well. He's going to be falling back, so maybe putting the 1390 in his place almost because they received so much damage early on. And what do you think of that? Was that a good move, putting the 1390 in his place?
Yeah, it depends what they want to do with it. The 1390 is not the best sniper in the world. Obviously, the 132 isn't either, but it's a better one because it has the consistent damage, and you can see how much threat Snakefin Guy is putting onto the T69s. He's just being able to go hull down and just put the pressure on and really put some distance between him and Evil Panda Squad. They're having to retreat, they're having to go back. Raging Potato, Yankees, Eclipse, all are hull down tanks, but they don't have the armor on the turret to deal hull down damage. That's the problem with the T69. Lucas Isti receiving some more damage, this time from Jack in that tier 1, who does manage to get himself back, and Lucas Isti getting greedy in the MX 1390, receives a big chunk of damage there, 215 HP, and look how much damage Evil Panda Squad has taken. Eclipse, Raging Potato, sub about, I would say about 80%, 85%, New Multi Show about 15%, Lucas Isti about 45, 50, 55%. So all in all, they've easily lost 1.5 tier 8 tanks, and whereas Drooling Leprechauns have only really lost, I would say, 1. So they're definitely in the driving seat, but it really depends what they do with that.
And I want to ask you a question. Looking where Sensei's now positioned himself, do you feel as though he's making sure that maybe EPS aren't doing the same strategy that they ran before those 1390s? Constantly checking the northeast side of this map towards that village? Do you think that might be an indicative play that they know their opponent there? It's
actually become more of a play just in this season. We've seen it pretty much every single time on Mines, and that's definitely something they want to avoid, him coming over there, and Evil Panda Squad in general just flanking around. They do seem to be a strong team from the north. Lucas Isti having to scamper out there best he can. Drooling Leprechauns don't manage to land that shell, but New Multi Show and Lucas Isti kind of out of position at this point in time. Lucas Isti does receive another big shell and does go down. No idea who from though.
Sensei there on top of the hill, barely saw him. That shot was incredible. So brilliant stuff there. But do you think this is enough of an advantage to make a move anytime soon for the Leprechauns? They've taken down Lucas. They've got New Multi Show low. But is there enough of a will and want to push here, or is it too much of a risk?
It's definitely an easy win for them if they just execute properly. They've taken down a tier 8. Eclipse is going to be another target for them. He does take a shell there, second shell of the game as he tries to rotate around. And Drooling Leprechauns are slowly starting to work themselves in. Yankees and Evil Panda Squad are going to try and come up with a new solution here, but they are playing the T69, which is a rather slow tank, so whether it's going to be effective, we'll have to wait and see. And at the moment, Drooling Leprechauns firmly in that driving seat as they start to push off the hill, look for an angle onto Evil Panda Squad, maybe even put some pressure on in the cap.
Well, Polswood has been spotted out. Krillex, not really fully focused towards him. Going to turn around and probably get the shot off any second now. But the main focus I want us to look towards is what is happening over towards the center of this map. Because it seems as though they are well aware of what EPS like to do using that northeast side here. They've actually fallen into maybe a habit of the previous game. And Krillex did take down Polswood, so already getting into great position a little further forward. But still, I'm curious to see if they can actually pull this off, because they are in the superior position, but it's just going to come down to that end fight.
It certainly is. Snakefin guys now approaching onto Yankees and Eclipse, and we've seen this situation before, and it's always been the tanks that are coming off the hill to win it, but we'll have to wait and see if Drooling Leprechauns can execute.
Well, Snake Guy Finn and Muppety are together here, taking a big bit of damage from Raging Potato, who's in the background, but he's doing the work. He's held them up. 1 minute and 55 left on the board. Muppety is not in the best position. Finally, the 4 other members of the Leprechauns will be making their way across, so they hopefully can start challenging down Raging Potato. And it looks like these 2 players, the 2 tanks of Muppety and Snake Guy Finn, are almost holding back the others, waiting for them to push across. Here comes the push finally beginning. It's Snake Guy Finn moving in. Sensei off the hill. Eclipse is low, but Sensei goes down first. The cap is underway. Replied back to, however, as there's only 3 tanks now standing for EPS, and the Leprechauns on the verge of victory here. They could do this. A lot of tanks still alive. Snake Guy Finn chasing down Yankees, but still the cap is ongoing. Reset constantly by the likes of Raging Potato, but Muppety splitting off to try and take him down, and you can see that the chase is continuing throughout this map, but now Potato is in trouble. He's down low, down to 430 HP. Another couple of shells will surely do the job. The cap is almost done. A couple of seconds remain. Keep your eyes on the timer, because I believe they've done it. The Leprechauns have caused a phenomenal upset in the first game, taking down Evil Panda Squad. What a brilliant way to begin things here.
Nice little execution for Drooling Leprechauns.
Wow.
So keeping their cool, going for the cap, not going for the kill, because obviously without the tier point roll, it isn't always so easy to kill. We saw yesterday Yukai managed to keep himself alive in TCM. That was spot on, and Drooling Leprechauns not making that mistake, learning from other teams' mistake. It's great to see, in fact. So all in all, a good performance from them. I thought obviously Lucas Isti having to run off the island, and just the sniping ability of Drooling Leprechauns helped them a lot in that situation. So once they got the tier 8 advantage, they just had to push off. Sensei did a good job in the AMX 3090 to really take down that T69. But you know, at the end of the day, you need the AMX 3090 to reset the cap. So the lack of AMX 3090 from Evil Panda Squad definitely hurt them. I wasn't particularly convinced by their setup. I think a Pershing or a T32 instead of one of those T69s wouldn't have gone amiss.
So I want to talk through the tactics a little bit as well that the Leprechauns brought out. Now, initially it looked like EPS had the advantage quite early on. They did the great damage to that WZ 132 when it came up towards the top of the hill. It did get there in the end, however, but very badly damaged. So do you think that was actually a good move or not?
I think it was a good move. It was more about asserting their dominance at the beginning of the game and making sure they had it. I'm not exactly convinced that it was a great move to put the WZ132. Maybe an AMX 3090 would have been equally as good, but
they did switch up for it later though. Sensei did come
they switched it up, yeah. And that was their best. That was the best of all their moves, because Numosho had to rotate around and he had to actually retreat and go on the plateau right in the north of the base. But you know, Evil Panda Squad, I think their plan basically was, we're going to do as much damage as we can when they go for that hill. They had the 75mm on the AMX 3090s. Basically meant in the later firefights that they were just pea shooters. They couldn't do anything. And then, you know, okay, that helped them at the beginning, but really it's about the late game, and the hill is not the most important thing. It is the most important thing, but it's not that important.
The entire game.
Exactly, it's not that important. So all in all, Evil Panda Squad tried something. It just didn't really work out.
And I've got to say, I feel as though Drooling Leprechauns really took notice of what happened yesterday. They constantly kept in mind that it seemed that the EPS side did like using the northeast side. They constantly looked after that village, because it does seem to be a new point of reference now within this season. Didn't see much of it before, apart from tier 1s being there. But it seems as though they watched back the previous games, they watched back yesterday's, and they're like, okay, well, they seem to like using this as a backup plan. Let's make sure Sensei every now and then keeps an eye on it, and then they finally executed. And I really like that. It seems that, as we saw, that this could be a season of really catching out some of these older teams if they're not sharp on their tactics. And already the Leprechauns with a 1-0 advantage, perfect beginning for them. Guys at home, obviously let us know your thoughts so far towards this. Was that just, you know, a little bit lucky from the Leprechauns, or did they really practice that one out and actually find out the chink in the armor of the Evil Panda Squad? But still, next map on the way. This is a best of 5, bear in mind. Draws mean nothing. We move on. 0-0 to both sides. Wins mean everything. So it'll be Himmelsdorf next. I don't think we need to talk through tank picks too much. I think we've seen a little variation with the 5100s coming out, but what are we seeing so far from these guys?
So just the standard stuff from an Evil Panda Squad, at least the triple 5100 double IS3. The same's actually going to come out from Drooling Leprechaun. So all in all, the same mirrored lineup from both teams, as we would expect from from Himmelsdorf, and honestly, that is going to give us the best games, in my opinion. You know, you get the speed and you get the damage.
Now, I'm pretty sure this was the Leprechauns map where they went for this all-in cap pressure that I really didn't like from them. I might be mistaken. I'm pretty sure it was them yesterday when we saw them. I wasn't sold on it. Do you think they might have adapted already?
I'm hoping they have. It also depends upon what the other team is doing. Quite a lot of these tactics are not, you know, you make your first 2 minutes of the game tactics, but then really it's about reacting to what the other team is doing.
Reactive play kicks in, I guess.
Exactly. So they've obviously got to make the call at the right time.
Well, we are just waiting on the final ready to come in from the Leprechaun side, and I'm not sure what to expect. I'm very impressed by mine so far. I love their performance, but Himmelsdorf is it can be a very skill-based map. You can't just have this one-in, all-out strategy, as you said. You have to depend on the reactive play towards the mid to late game. And I want to see this will really test them in my eyes. This will be a display of, did they just work out EPS a little bit quickly on the first map? Or was it down to real, hard worked out skill? Because we'll see it here on Himmelsdorf. We've already seen, I think, EPS once on this. But, you know, looking at these guys, when you have new Multishow in the lineup with a tank like the 5100, we're always going to see some solid performances out of him. So I don't think we need to worry too much about him. But in my eyes, this is now, can the Leprechauns repeat what happened on that first map? So very much excited for this. Guys, hopefully you are as well, because here comes that map video for Himmelsdorf. So, second map coming up now. It's going to be Himmelsdorf between these two. The Drunken Leprechauns, as shown there, or the Drooling Leprechauns, whatever you want to call them, against the Evil Panda squad. So, EPS will be starting in the south in red, and in the north in blue. It will be the Drooling Leprechauns. And what are your predictions on this one? Who do you think's got it in the bag here?
Well, Evil Panda squad won against Asuba yesterday from this side. They actually went straight up towards the north and went for that early push. We're actually playing on normal Himmelsdorf as opposed to what we should be playing on Winter's Himmelsdorf. But oh well, it's pretty much the same map. I think everyone can agree.
Just not as pretty.
Just exactly not as pretty and you know, not as white at all. But it looks like Evil Panda squad heading up towards the hill with the AMX 5100s and even an IS-3 being boosted up by Lucasisti, so Eclipse will be playing that, whilst Drooling Leprechauns also sending a couple of their tanks up the hill, double 5100 tier 1, and pretty much the rest of their tanks are just sitting up around the various key locations of that Muppety, sitting up the 8 road, Message in the middle, with the IS-3, and Kirilex is over towards the left side, playing the 5100, obviously Snakefin guy. In a little bit of a strange position. I would have expected him to go up to the 1, 2, 3 line, or the 1 line most likely, sit up behind one of the rules and try and go for the spots with the binocular telescopes, but that's always an option for him if he does want to, because he is pretty close.
Well, as we know, the general spots in the middle coming out there between Message and a couple of others, but it will be down to this hill at the very start here. Hello is on the very top in the tier 1. Both sides do have damage dealing tanks here. I think Jack did just get spotted out, or Sensei, I'm not sure. One of the two has been noted, so that will force a little bit of a movement coming out from the Evil Panda squad. And they might just actually commit to this hill a little bit more than the Leprechauns. And is that the good move coming out from these guys?
We'll have to wait and see. I think it's going to put them more pressure on. Obviously, Evil Panda squad have 4 tier 8 tanks, whilst Drooling Leprechauns only had 2. So 2 versus 4, obviously the 4 will win, and so maybe a good move for Evil Panda squad. But whether or not Drooling Leprechauns are caught onto the fact that Evil Panda squad have got so much of their resources up the hill, I'm not quite sure. Maybe we'll see that in a couple of minutes when they do go on the rotate. The new multi-show does get spotted out by Hello, and that might start prompting Evil Panda squad to go around. But it's a risky move, because once you start heading around the castle, you can get spotted up from below. Messages sitting there. Kirilex could be also spotting there, and Toho once again spotting out this time. Well, the same new multi show, and he could have actually spotted out with Eclipse if he just peeked a little bit further, maybe a couple of meters. But Eclipse so far playing it pretty much correctly, and you still don't want to lose your tier 1s, so he won't be going too risky. He won't be poking too much That could obviously go disastrously. But in terms of tactics for Evil Panda Squad, I think stay on the hill. They've got no reason to leave, and Drooling Leprechauns has no reason to believe that there's more than there is on that hill.
Yeah, it's actually quite smart so far. Only New Show being really noted up there. All the others, a little bit unheard of, and actually Sensei is moving back up. This could be disastrous if they finally get, a little bit of knowledge about this, but it's going to be so, well, little too late almost. Well, let's find out if they're going to get caught out here, because Sensei has moved up with Jack again. Sensei in a little bit more of an aggressive position. They only know of New Multishow's positioning here. We'll find out if it really comes to the forefront in a second, but another side making a big move, but finally we are seeing a little bit of a show coming out. New Multishow has received a bit of damage, but here comes the split from the other two tanks. They're finally going to be appearing, and this is going to be having to be a quick retreat here from the Leprechauns, because their tier 1's been removed. Sensei just about avoiding that shell, but will they get away fast enough from the entire squad moving and barreling down towards them? This is a big move coming in. Sensei's just about escaped in time. Receives one shell, but makes it out alive. And the hill has been truly claimed by EPS, stamping their authority there. And it looks like the Leprechauns will have to find another way through, because there's no way they're getting back up on that hill.
Certainly not, but that may be not a great move from Evil Panda Squad. Lucas Zisti and New Multishow have both received a shell, and they've only managed to deal one shell onto Sensei. The idea then was really for them to get a couple more, catch him up who was going down the hill, but I think Yankees missed one of his shells, and at the end of the day, Drooling Leprechauns don't have to be particularly worried. They know that Evil Panda Squad will have to rotate back around and prepare for a push, though maybe even a switch up is going to come. Drooling Leprechauns know Evil Panda Squad will rotate off. They might start rotating on that hill again, or maybe go up the 8 line. It does look like they're starting to head down that way. You can see them heading through BC as Eclipse, Lucas Yisti, New Multishow and Polsved. All actually also looking up the 8 line, but maybe not so happy to go up there. It's always a risky move, and it's the more obvious of the two options. The 1-2-3 line does take longer to drive towards, also a little bit trickier to execute along.
Well, it's pretty a good choice as well, because Jack and Muppety are waiting down the other end, and if they do start rolling down, they will be bottlenecked in there. They'll have to use brute force to get out, but 4 minutes and 54 seconds left. They're going to have to make a move pretty soon if they want to do something here. Obviously, big heavy tanks, lots of HP between them. I'm curious to see where we go from here. It looks like Muppety, Sensei and Jack actually considering going back up the hill this time, and I'm not sure if I fully like that sort of move, as they've given the map back to EPS, but we'll see if it comes into effect. Both teams playing this game of cat and mouse between each other. And who do you think really should be the one making the move here? Who's got the positional advantage overall?
Well, it looks like Drooling Leprechauns are going to be making a move, and looks like that move is going to be heading towards the hill with their 5100s if they can. Even the IS3s have joined them up there, so maybe come barreling off the hill, maybe go for the cap, as Evil Panda Squad are rotating back around. Raging Noob, Lucas Yisti, Yankees all looking for the 1-2-3 line, so we could have a cap race on the cards. 4 minutes left on the clock, could be a little short for both these teams to make that happen, but it's still possible, and really only around that 2 minute mark does things get a little bit tight. But for now, Evil Panda Squad a little bit of breathing room, as does Drooling Leprechauns, and you can see the kind of ability Evil Panda Squad have with these 5100s. New Multishow sits on his own. He's always been the playmaker for Evil Panda Squad, and he's always been the lone wolf. And Yankees, Lucas Yisti are the ones that are really going to be sitting together and trying to get that focus fired down. But it looks like Polsved is the only one left on the hill. Spots out Jack there. Muppety, that's going to cause Evil Panda Squad to surely start moving up here. Indeed, Yankees, Lucas Yisti all starting to go. Raging Potato in front with that IS3, and this could be the start of an aggressive move.
Well, we'll have to see how that comes through, because they do have Snake Guy Finn for the Drooling Leprechauns, trying to keep eyes on this push. Surely he'll spot it out if they do come rolling past, or at least I hope so, because there's two tanks splitting through the middle. There's going to be Snake Guy Finn getting a bit of an eyeful here. Not exactly what you want, but let's see how this one comes down. New Multishow will be the first to cross. They do get the spots out here, so Snake Guy Finn will be taken down pretty damn swiftly. There will be a massive retract here coming out from the other guys. Messig will be the first person on the scene here. He played a passive role. He'll be the first to spot these guys out if they do make their move. And do you think EPS will commit here?
They have to commit. They've only got 2 minutes and 30 seconds left, and they're in the better position. I don't think Zigorzni is in the best place. He could be in a better position, but Raging Potato is now committed along. He has to go through. Evil Panda Squad starting to cap on, and Drooling Leprechauns are going to have to try and extend out. They're going to have to go forwards to stop this cap.
Well, Messig and Jack are both trying to play this smart. It's going to be Eclipse and Numulcho who are actually beginning this one. And as you said, they will have to push around to actually be able to get a shot off. Oh, they have to take down the entirety of these guys here. I'm wondering if there's anyone splitting out from the Leprechauns. Yes, there is. Krillex is the one to try and probably make his way through here. There's a lot of time on the board. They will have to make the move pretty damn fast, though, as the clock will be getting a little bit close now. Messig still backing away. He's being careful. No one wants to give it away, but Mupti happy to peer across, be peeking out, tries to take a shot, but nothing really connecting. Eclipse is in trouble, though. He's going to be going down pretty low, but they do exchange the message being taken out. So far, I feel EPS are really leading this one, but from the back, Kurex is coming round. He's got 2 shells back to back here. Good play from him. Eclipse being forced forward. Now finally Muppety can kick into the action. 2 shells come in. Surely Eclipse is going to go down now. Muppety needs to land one more. Krillex in a bit of a battle with Numulcho. There we go. Eclipse goes down. Numulcho is low. The other guy's moving into position. The cap has been stopped, but the HP is very low on both sides here. I'd say slightly lower towards EPS, and there we have another great shot coming in. Actually, the Leprechauns could do this, but they must find Polswood. They must take down these 2 finals members, Numulcho and Yankees. Mupty moves around. Yankees on the move, gets the shot. Mupty tries to keep him in place, but he's been tracked. Krillex coming around the backside. Gonna have to try and challenge him 1v1 here. Numulcho still alive as well. Gun in the game, 3v3. Krillex and Yankees going head to head. Krillex could lose this. This is a dangerous situation for him. Yankees is in a way better position. 45 seconds. Krillex on the move. It's down to those reloads, Ollie.
And Polsved has actually done a pretty good job to run away from him. Yankees is going to start taking some damage, and I think Krillex is going to get him.
Krillex, ooh, perfect shot on the cross there. One more will do the job. Yes, he can! Stunning stuff there, but still, that tier 1 is on the run, and I'm not sure if these guys can catch up right now.
I don't think they can. That Sensei is a wrong tank to try and head up the hill. Maybe his gun's damaged, maybe his engine's damaged even, or I'm not quite sure why he's taking so long to get up there, but 15 seconds left on the board, and honestly, I don't think the Drooling Leprechauns has time to take him down. Polsved once again proving that the tier 8 point rule, the tier point rule, in his favor, and 3 seconds left on the board. It just doesn't look like Drooling Leprechauns can get back in time, and indeed it will be a draw coming out, but still the score in favor of Drooling Leprechauns from that previous engagement on Mines.
And I've got to say it, I actually really liked the way that the Leprechauns got themselves back into that game then. I felt as though EPS did the smarter move by moving in. They were well positioned. But then when it came down to the shots, and not accounting for Krillex coming around the backside there, which was the only weakness to Numulcho and co being in that position, was a little bit short-sighted from such an experienced team maybe. Yeah,
it was very short-sighted. I think it was not a bad idea. They didn't have the problem. The problem was the tier 1 was in the wrong. It wasn't there in time. Like Evil Panda Squad were really dumb the way they did that. Their tier 1 was in the wrong position at the wrong time. It should have been in the cap as soon as the IS3s of 5100s were in the cap. They would have won it if they did that. Then they were really scared. They didn't want to. They wanted to draw it out either way, right. So they had Polsved up the hill to run away like he did and draw it out. But if they had more balls and Polsved had been in the cap with the 5100 and the IS3s, they would have won it either way. So their eagerness to use the tier point to draw also lost them that game, also drawed the game, and at the moment Drooling Leprechauns still winning in terms of the series altogether. So, there's no point playing to the tier point rule if you're just going to draw.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, and it was dangerous. I think it was Sensei was just a little bit too slow to get up that hill, and if he was 5 seconds faster, he would have caught him there.
And they could have killed him, but they were just focusing on the main tanks of Evil Panda Squad. So all in all, it was bad execution, bad planning for an Evil Panda Squad, and I think Drooling Leprechauns were the better team, and the way they reacted to Evil Panda Squad, some good communication, and they sacrificed the tanks they needed to. You can see the 2 IS3s died, and the 35100s were alive, and that's kind of where you want to have it at the end of the game. Use those IS3s HP to take and soak as much damage as possible.
And I've got to say, I feel as though the Leprechauns, if they had maybe another layer to their plan then, the thing that always defines, the Navis, the Virtus Pros, the previous Dignitas, the top teams, they always have that slightly follow-up plan, not just the reaction, they have the way they want to win as well. If they had that, they knew that tier 1 was on the hill, they'd spotted him earlier up there. If they maybe went, okay, the last go will be here, let's already have faith that we'll win the exchange. Obviously very brave stuff, that takes a lot of understanding of your own team mechanics. But if they had that another layer, I think they could be really causing upsets in the fact they'd be 2-0 up. Currently, 1 map to the good still. Draws mean 0-0, but at the moment, I'm very impressed with the play coming out from the Leprechaun side. I feel as though they're the stronger team we've seen so far, quite personally.
I agree. It's good to see a Finnish team that is looking a little bit more consistent. Yesterday, well, their first match day, they didn't look.
They look like shaky.
They look a little bit shaky. Maybe first match day nerves being such a new team, but they certainly look like they're getting themselves into their stride. You can see their tank lineup is a triple 5100 double T69 double T1. Next map will be Cliff.
Yes.
So I think pretty standard stuff. I honestly like picking another T69 or another Pershing just for the hull down ability, but maybe they're going to be going for the initial engagement. They want something fast, maybe put an AMX 3090 up onto that hill. But it's really going to be a hard, tricky job for them. But then again, AMX 3090 times 3, T69 times 2 double T1 for Evil Panda squad as well. So mirrored lineup from both these two teams, and obviously their blind picks, they have to send us the picks 5 minutes before the game starts.
Yeah, so no counter picks coming out. It will be just how they feel about this map and how they feel their opponents. And Cliff, what are your thoughts so far? We haven't really seen a fully open map yet between these two. What are your thoughts towards how they might play this one out? Because Cliff isn't even that open as well. It does have quite defined exchanges at times, but obviously not as quite closed in as your Himmelsdorfs, for example. And Mines as well, I feel, is quite similar to Cliff in the way it plays out on occasion. There's very much wanted areas and areas that aren't played so much, and it's quite a nice map in that essence. Who do you think has the advantage here?
We'll have to wait and see, but Drooling Leprechauns are looking like the better team at the moment. Evil Panda squad are going to have to prove that they are the more consistent, and I think I've got a funny feeling, a hunch that Evil Panda squad are going to win this one.
Yep.
You know, Cliff is not a map that's played as much, and I think Evil Panda squad's experience is going to help them on this one.
Well, let's bear in mind we are now a good couple of maps down. The Leprechauns still have the advantage, so if they gather this win, there's almost a no-return situation for EPS, so they need to start looking at actually going for the victory here, rather than playing for the draw like previously seen on Himmelsdorf. And, well, I'm going to put it to the Leprechauns here. I think they're going to do pretty well on this one. I think they've seen the weaknesses in EPS, and I think hopefully they can actually go for the victory, although they know EPS are going to have to start going for the victories rather than the draws, which might start coming to the forefront of EPS's mind, and that's when they get a little bit dangerous, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, I agree. As soon as Evil Panda squad start feeling the pressure, I think they're going to stay cool and react and do some real damage against Drooling Leprechauns. Obviously, we're now 2 maps down, heading into our 3rd one, so in a best of 5, they've still got plenty of time to bring the score level, but time is running out for Evil Panda squad. They need to make sure they have that in the forefront, because they could end up losing 1-0. Whether or not that's going to put too much pressure on them, well, I don't think so. I think at the beginning of the season, the pressure is not that high, even though, you know, at the end of the season we'll be sitting here, we'll be saying if only they just won that one game at the beginning, which a team they should have beaten, they would be sitting in one of the spots for the offline finals. But everyone knows that, you know, you're a professional gamer. I was playing in some of the best teams a long time ago, and it's always the first few match days that we didn't really take, well, not seriously, but
it's testing time.
But we were like, yeah, we've got a lot of problems to fix, and we're not like, we don't have to go. It's the same as at school, you know. So yeah, this is going to be Cliff on the next map.
So let's head over to that video. So, welcome into the 3rd map. It will be the Drooling Leprechauns up against EPS, and it will be Cliff, as we said. And in the north, in red, it will be EPS. With everything to do now, they must start proving themselves in this one, and the Drooling Leprechauns in the south in blue. What are we seeing so far? So,
Evil Panda squad filtering off towards the Cliff. Most of their tanks obviously got a pretty quick lineup with the 3 AMX 3090s, Lucas Yisti, Yankees, and New Multi-Show sporting those fast French tanks. Going to be trying to get some initial damage off, but the same as going for Drooling Leprechaun, they are heading towards here with the AMX 3090. We might just have an old-fashioned exchange, but it's going to be new multi-show to go first. Going to peek over against Message, probably going to take him down if he has reload.
Well, it's going to be Crix to back him up, and Sensei's there, so the two 3090s from the side really providing cover, but I'm not sure they accounted for Eclipse from the side. But finally, the bigger tanks have arrived on the scene. You've got those T69s now in effect. Everyone's been spotted out. This could be just a big old brawl coming down. It's new Mulch Show to be focused first, and actually EPS are taking a hell of a beating. My God, finally a little bit of return fire. Message goes down damn swiftly, and there's the reply we expected from EPS, but they are weak, and this could be a swift game, and there we go. New Mulcho is down. Sensei Mupti focusing down towards Yankees. Lucas Yesti still sitting pretty, finally takes a bit of damage. Jack yet to really get into the battle. Sensei is in trouble, but he's going to find the reply. That's New Mulcho and Yankees now both down. He's going to find Eclipse as well. He's not done just yet. Sensei on the run now, has to avoid Raging Potato. Jack kicks in round the backside, catching out these two players. This is brilliant stuff from the Leprechauns, really catching these guys out. And Raging Potato has got nothing to do but die, surely. Oh, they've turned it. They've turned it around. But can they take down Jack? Can Jack do the damage? We're about to find out. He's in trouble. Potato and Eclipse both staring him down. Eclipse will surely be the one to do the damage here. And now Lucas moving in. Krillix to come and support. Krillix takes down one of the targets. And now we'll be in a 2v2 exchange. HP fairly even. Krillix is ahead now. Lucas takes the shell, takes the second. Can Jack stay alive long enough? He's doing the work. He's keeping Eclipse pretty. Oh my God! The shots are coming in. And Krillix might be able to do this. Eclipse is low. 1-for-1 exchange. Can he get these shells off? Krillix is now down. Oh my word, this has just turned on its head, and EPS just about hang on here. And sadly, the tier 1 left alive might just have to run and hide for his life.
That was an interesting exchange for Drooling Leprechauns, because they were actually winning it for quite a lot of it. But the problem was the reloads really didn't come into their favor. Eclipse at the end of the day with that T69 had a quicker reload. He was going against an MX 3090 that had to go in and try and do some damage, and that was inexperience coming out from that MX 3090. He must have realized that Eclipse would have the better reload and would take him down. As finally, the last player, Toholo, goes down for Drooling Leprechauns, even to score up to 1-1 for these two teams, a win coming out for Evil Panda squad. But looking at that performance, Eclipse really did carry them. He did 2,139 damage.
Just a touch.
But then Kirilex did 2.7k. I guess the problem there was for Drooling Leprechauns. They had the better tactic at the beginning. They had the MX 3090s low,
right,
flanking around, took the MX 3090s Lucas Yisti, or Yankees first, then Lucas Yisti out. And Raging Potato went out pretty quickly as well as in that T69. But at the end of the day, they couldn't make it count. They took the wrong tanks out first. New Multishow did 0 damage in that game for Evil Panda squad. But because of the 20 odd second reload for the T69, 25 second reload for the T69, it could just reload. The MX 3090 had another 7 seconds, 8 seconds. So it just had to wait around, and the T69 could just do the final blow. So all in all, just the wrong focus fire for Drooling Leprechauns. Evil Panda Squad's experience coming out once again, despite the fact that Evil Panda Squad's new multi-show doing 0 damage, which is pretty unheard of. This is a guy that has pretty much achieved the impossible of killing all 7 tanks in a 7 versus 7.
To be fair, once again, I feel if the Leprechauns had a little more experience, or that 10% extra to know where to focus, that would have been EPS wiped off the map very quickly. The engagements were going their way at the start, and for some substantial amount of that fight, but right towards the end, where those decisions are absolutely everything, and the focus fire is second to none, that's where the experience kicked in for EPS, and they started to win it over. And I can imagine New Mulcho, in a way, him going down early on, could be leading from the back, almost telling them, guys, focus this guy, focus this guy. He is one of the leaders now within this, obviously, team, and he does come up with some of the commands, and maybe his experience would have finally shown up in that situation. But still, that's a worrying sight for EPS, not looking all that solid at times. That was shaky, I think, even at the best of moments there, and the Leprechauns once again showing they have a lot of potential. It's tied to 1-1, so certainly kind of showing that overall as well. But next map coming up will be Steps, and tank picks are starting to begin, so I don't know what to think of this map. I'm really not too sure between these two teams. It looks like the Leprechauns are very happy to bring the really action-packed game. Do you think we might see it here again, or maybe finally more passive side?
Well, that game was literally could have been the difference between 5 seconds would have made would have won it or lost it for either team. So, that action-packed game where it worked, it could have worked for either. So it doesn't really matter. But I'm looking for Drooling Leprechauns to step it up. But with that WZ132, it might be quite hard for them to do so. And the Chinese Tier 8 light tank looking for that kind of mindset up again. We've seen it more and more in this season. So I think honestly they're going to go for the aggressive tactic, double AMX 3090 along that WZ132.
It suits
double
it,
T69 as well. Whilst the Evil Panda squad something more classic, T69 × 2 Pershing double AMX 3090. So Drooling Leprechauns looking for the very fast, like aggressive, probing, scouting kind of setup. WZ132 provide the sustained damage. The MX-3090s for the burst, so they just need to find a way into Evil Panda squad. If they find a way in, they can just absolutely decimate them within a few seconds. But it's going to be hard, as if they engage one-on-one in these kind of Mexican standoff situations with the Pershing.
Well, we are now seconds away from finding out. So guys, let's get ready for steps. So, welcome back into this one. EPS up against the Leprechauns, and we have a phenomenal show so far. And EPS will be starting in the north in red in this match, and in the south in blue it will be the Leprechauns. And your prediction on this map?
I'm gonna see if Drooling Leprechauns can really execute prediction to after the map.
How does that even work?
It's legit. Time is relative, Lauren. Come on.
Well, it's a time-relative question, so why don't you answer? Who are you predicting? Help those guys at home. Come on
I think
now.
I'm going to have to go for the consistency of Evil Panda squad. It worked out on Cliff, and I think in Steps, another little bit of a shaky map for a lot of teams. It might even work out here.
Well, we're going to find out. It seems like we've got a little bit of a fast-paced game coming with Jack and Krillex, both quite close to the action, and I'm surprised that EPS went for this side of the map, and they're definitely enjoying it. Krillex having to back away a little there in the 1390, and actually, this could be an all-out brawl very quickly between these two if they commit here. Surely not going to, though.
No, I don't think the commit is the greatest idea for even either of these two teams. It's maybe a little bit more scouting to do. It's kind of strange, though. Drooling Leprechauns, they had the faster lineup, but they didn't go for the faster route. They didn't go and try and be aggressive into that trench area, instead opting to go for the snipe, which is a little strange because they got the double T69, not the greatest sniping tank in the world. Certainly that aim down time is not particularly great. Yankee trying to get a few cross shots on. He knows that, well, he's guessing that Drooling Leprechauns are actually crossing, and indeed he's guessing right. Doesn't manage to hit any shells, but goddamn, that must have been close. So Drooling Leprechauns getting slightly lucky there, but Evil Panda squad know that they're on the rotate. They know that they're going around, so they're not reacting to it so far. But maybe gonna have to start getting themselves hulled down. Maybe having to start getting themselves towards that bait a little bit more. But it is Steps, so you don't really have to go for the cap. You should never really go for the cap because the cap circle is in the middle of a field and it's pretty easy to stop it. You got cover all around, so never really a good idea. I don't really think we've ever seen, maybe 1 or 2 games won by a cap on Steps, but it's so rare.
Yeah, I don't think I even recall one really being won by a full-on cap. But we're going to find out what maybe the later game plan for the Leprechauns is, as they do have that faster, well, very fast lineup here. Mestig leading the way down towards the northwest. But I'm not sure where they're going to push from here. I'm still looking through this one because there's actually not been any shells connected yet. Both teams, obviously a lot of blind fire coming out from the EPS side, but none connecting so far. Good usage of the terrain, obviously, from the Leprechauns, hiding behind some of the defilade of these hills and utilizing what they can for cover, because there isn't a great deal on this map, really. It's all fairly open, but still. Finally, a little bit of return fire coming out from the Leprechauns, trying to make sure there's no one hiding around here. The closest, I believe, is going to be a tier 1, but still. At the moment, Not too much action, but a lot of movement, and it looks like Messig is actually pushing up quite far by himself. If we spin on over towards my side, he's going to be pushing all the way around the back of their flag, and actually could get a couple of shots off. This is a bit of a dangerous move, though.
Yeah, it's a risky move, but that WZ132 has the speed to make them. He does actually get spotted a little earlier than I thought he would hope to do so. Maybe a couple of those little hills that are alongside the train tracks not helping him out. Obviously, you only need really the tiniest pixel to be spotted for your tank to light up on the minimap, to light up for the enemy team. So Message having to quickly scamp out of there. He doesn't want to get caught out by the MX-3090s of Evil Panda Squad. So good little reactive play from him. Maybe wanting to get a couple of shots out onto the side of Evil Panda Squad. So unlucky, mate, but he probably will try again at some point in time, I imagine so. But Drooling Leprechauns looking like they want to probe, whilst the Evil Panda Squad just happy to sit back and happy to sit in the same location they really started this map on. Although Lucas Yisti is starting to make his way over towards a little bit towards the left, Polsved as well, but Zigor Snorny down. It's going to be slightly hard for him, for Evil Panda Squad to go for that draw if they do want to.
Your pronunciation is probably phenomenal on that guy's name. I'm not sure how I would say it, but...
You're not even attempting it.
No.
I attempt it. Zygor. I'm going to call him Zygor from now on. Snorlax?
Zygor?
Snorlax? Snorlax Lorny? I don't know.
I'm going to call him Sigourney Weaver at this rate, because that's probably closest that I'm ever going to get to pronounce it correctly. We'll see how this one goes through, because at the moment, you know, EPS are splitting off. 3-man squad, Himmelsdorf, Polsved, and I think there's one other over there as well. Yeah, a little bit of a polarizing game so far, both splitting around, but Messig is literally out on a limb the whole time. He is happy just roaming around on his own in that WZ132. Certainly utilizing his strengths, but if he gets caught, he is really in trouble. But obviously without the tier point rule, he's not going to be too punished, but it would put his team on the back foot. But brave play from him, I'll give him that.
Yeah, he's playing pretty well, although he does take a big shell there, 278 HP. But it's good to see that Drooling Leprechauns have that player who's willing to roam, willing to try his luck in some respects. But he is a team captain as well, so if he does mess up, it's pretty much all on him. But second bit of real damage goes out for Evil Panda Squad's Fable, though they've lost to tier 1. Message is down to 772 in the WZ132. So looks like the rest of his team though is going to be joining him and going to be rotating around. He kind of put some pressure on, maybe causing Evil Panda Squad to rotate back to their base. Indeed they are, and that might actually cause a good opening hole for Drooling Leprechauns to exploit.
And actually, I do like the way they've left, I think it's Snake Guy Finn back here, just in case someone comes rotating around the back and does try go for a shot in the back side of the opponents. Snake Guy Finn just going to hunker down here and play smart. And I think he actually might catch a bit of an eyeful if they do come around this side.
Yeah, he might actually just spot out the whole of the team if he doesn't be careful. But we've still got Snake Guy Finn trying to rotate as far as he can, and might actually be a bad move from him, although that T69 does get spotted out of Mappetti, and Eclipse is going to have a little couple of cracks at him with the T178 on the T69. Lucas Yisti having to rotate, but Evil Panda Squad at the moment just reacting to all the plays of Drooling Leprechauns, not managing to find a good exploitation onto them, though Mappetti has taken a shell. Down to 1099 in the T69. 3 minutes and 3 seconds left on that clock, so still plenty of time to make something happen. Whether these two are going to really stop playing cat and mouse and just duel it out, and that is a real question.
Well, this is brave play from EPS, making their way down the middle of the map, and it could pay off for them, let's bear in mind. Unspotted still, the Leprechauns could be really caught out here. Muppety, Jack, Sensi, all set up fairly well, but still a 3-man hit squad running through the center of the map could catch them off guard. Jack will be the first in line to receive a bit of a punishing. Here we go, they're finally lighting up for them. It's a 4-man hit squad coming around the side. Yankees receives the first. Jack is in trouble though. He's got fire coming from New Multishow, probably the player you least want against you. Lucas gets one back. Jack is gonna fall. Nothing can be done, and actually the Leprechauns are in pieces. Muppety out on a limb. Lucas moving in for it. It's gonna be Krelix to actually take a big chunk of damage. damage. Lucas finds a little bit back, but still, I've got to say the Leprechauns a little bit spread out here, and I'm not too sold they're going to make it out of this one alive.
Well, they still have to do the rest of the damage, and Sensei is going to have to try and get out of there and kill Polsved in that tier 1. New multi-show is from the side, and he's just about reloading now, so you have to wait until he actually gets on Lucas. Isti also receives a fistful of damage, down to about 3% HP. Eclipse is going to try and block for him.
Well, Muppety being the brave one, sticking out in the front, still got a hell of a lot of HP on him, actually, so he might still be able to do some damage, and we're going to see if it comes into effect. Raging Potato receives a shell. They're working them down, but they're going to need something incredible if they want to pull this one off. Obviously, those 1390s are waiting up on that reload, but here we go. Muppety surely going to get this one done. Yes, he does. He takes down Raging Potato, and now Eclipse is the next target. Yankees as well is in trouble, but Muppety goes down, and maybe a little bit of that hope has been removed, but can they make it count now? Krillex does find the opponent of Lucas, and now 3 big tanks left in the game for EPS. Can they make this count?
New Metal Show, though, he's the danger man, and he's the one that can.
Well, message is gonna fall. Krillex is the last man surely alive for these guys. Not a great deal to do for the tier 1s, but hide and scamper away. Krillex trying to hide behind the corpse of his dead teammate, but I've got to say it, EPS looking far superior in these exchanges, and the cap will begin. Only 50 seconds left, though, if he can reset this a couple of times and try and draw this one out. But you've got New Molcho moving in. He does have at least 1 shell left, I believe, here to use. Krillex not so lucky. 35 seconds on that cap. There is a tier 1 in the background who could do some damage here just to reset. But let's see who's going to come out of this one alive, and it's going to be Krillex going for the shots now. He does take 1, so does get New Molcho a little bit lower, gets the second, but can he get the third? He can't afford to miss it. There we go. Krillex still alive now. Can they hold off on this cap and try and save this game, Ollie?
Polsved maybe try and have to spot Krillex, so Yankees and Eclipse actually have the right angle to push onto him, because it is going to be him. And where is Snake Guy Finn? Is he disconnected? Because he's on completely the wrong side of the map, leaving Krillex to try and do the damage, but he does actually get it, but he goes down. 3 seconds left on the clock, and I don't think it's enough time to take down Snake Guy Gin.
No, indeed, does manage to save the day there right at the end. And I think so far he's going to be the standout play for me, Krillex. Every single map, high damage, smart play, and once again, saving his team from a bit of a pummeling. And not sure what that tier 1 was doing, though. I get they saved the day there, but it was a little bit close.
Yeah, I think it would have been an easier position for him if he did actually just go over and not actually get...
Yeah.
If he got the spot on him. But at the end of the day, the MX 1390, he hit that shell, unlike Nagatron and Nuremberg at the grand finals. He hit the shell and he reset the cap.
Way to bring up the pain again.
So, so that was great play there by Drooling Leprechauns to reset that, bringing the score. Well, it's keeping the score at 1-1 to these 2 teams. We do head into our, I believe, our 5th map.
Yeah, this will be the final map. And I do want to ask you a question here. In the fights that actually break out now, who do you think still has the advantage? I feel EPS, to be fair.
Yeah, they're looking like the stronger team. In that situation, it was literally a case of we just didn't close. They just didn't close down the rest of the map perfectly. Polsved was in just no man's land for so long. He's sitting up in that trench. I'm not sure what he was doing there, but he should have been roaming around while the engagement was happening, looking for Snake Guy Finn.
Snake Fin Guy?
Snake Fin Guy, yeah, exactly. Obi-Wan, Snake Fin, whatever.
Who knows?
And going for him, trying to take him down so they wouldn't ever have that tier point advantage, but instead Polsved was just sitting there. I think he was trying to spot or something like that, maybe. But you've always got to keep that clairvoyance, so you never really get in that situation, because it's now been 2 games where one of these 2 teams could have won it if they just used their tier 1s effectively.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised that the Leprechauns are keeping up this well, though. Whether it be down to a little bit of luck at times, or whether it be down to skill or a mistake from EPS, they are certainly on par, and I did not expect it to go to 5 maps in complete honesty. I thought EPS would have had this in 3. And the Leprechauns are really showing us a good game, and Ensk will be the final map coming up. What do you think we can expect from these 2 if we look back towards Himmelsdorf, maybe?
I've never been a massive fan of Evil Panda Squad on Ensk. I think they've always been a little bit shaky, especially compared to their compatriots, the Polish compatriots, Lemming Train, now Denali Sports. We'll have to see if they fix some of their issues, which usually included the fact that New Multi-Show just drives off into the distance and says, "See you guys later, I'm not going to get involved with your arguments, peace, man." Honestly, he roams.
Does his own thing.
He does his own thing a little bit too much, and that was always the problem with Evil Panda Squad. He's a brilliant player, but he's always doing his own thing, and that's a big problem on Ensk, which is such a small map. You want to be there, you have to be there at all times. So that could be a problem for Evil Panda Squad. Drooling Leprechauns, haven't really been too impressed with them on this map either. And they tried to go for that push last time, didn't end up working. Whether they fix the problems, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully they have. I think their biggest crux is going to be whether their IS3s can prove to us that they are worthy. Muppety obviously playing that, one of the most experienced players in the league, being one of the key players in Spala before joining TCM for a little while, but not in the Wargaming League. So Muppety and I think Message are going to be the two key players for Drooling Leprechauns.
Well, as you said, a lot of pressure on those two. They are picking up those IS3s, and tank picks coming through. Actually, 3 IS3s for the Leprechauns and only 2 for EPS so far. Is that whose lineup do you prefer here? I
think I prefer Drooling Leprechauns, but
okay,
it does depend on what they do. It depends. If the 51 is always better for the rotates because they can just turn around and drive back to the base quicker, can stop caps quicker. Which I think is more important than the damage they can do on Ensk. The triple IS3s, the extra IS3, it's going to be a little bit easier for them to sit back. Can be a little bit easier to deal that damage around corners. Go for the longer game. Get the pot shots, get the alpha damage working. But it will really be a question, as I said before, what Snake Fin Guy and Muppety and Message can do in those IS3s for Drooling Leprechauns. Whether they can hit the shells they need to hit. The BL9 does 390 damage in total, so you need to hit that one shell. Then you got to wait for 12 seconds for that reload.
Well, we are now obviously in the final map here. Currently still tied at 1-1 draws throughout the rest of the maps, but pretty damn good games to say the least. I've got to say it, old versus new. I'm not sure where I'm putting my money. I'm going to go with the Leprechauns on this one. What about yourself?
Yeah, I want Leprechauns to win because I think they've been the more aggressive team and maybe even the better team than Evil Panda Squad in this situation, in this matchup. But we'll see if Evil Panda Squad have fixed their problems on Ensk. I think, once again, they might just have the better heavy tank players.
Well, we're going to find out any second now. This is the final map. So, guys, let's get ready for Ensk. So, as mentioned, final map now between these two. The Drooling Leprechauns up against Evil Panda Squad, currently tied at 1-1. Final battle, map 5, Ensk. In just a second's time, beginning in the north in blue, it'll be the Leprechauns, and in the south in red, Evil Panda Squad. Take us into this game, Laughter.
So from the south, we've seen mostly teams heading over towards the green side. That's the more common option for them. They can probe forwards along the 6-7 line along those railroads. It doesn't look like Evil Panda Squad going to be following that trend. New multi-show leading up. Yankees, Eclipse, Raging Noob, and Lucas ESD all going over towards that position, and Zia Gazanoni as well. Poswed, the only one really left in the base. He's the only one left there to make sure that there's not going to be too much aggressive moves coming out right at the start from Drooling Leprechauns, who are playing the standard Ensk tactic from the north, maybe a little bit more reserved than some teams. Often we see a tank in B1, hold down usually an IS3, but instead opting to chuck it into A3, B3 area. So standard start from these two teams. You can see Evil Panda Squad are trying to catch out maybe any tanks that's headed over there. Indeed, there's not going to be anything, only Sensei in that tier 1 sitting in A8 for Drooling Leprechauns.
Another moment. This is the first time I feel we've really seen EPS make the first move out of these two. So the Leprechauns finally being the more passive side here. And I'm not sure how that's going to pay out for them. I generally like it when they do make a little bit more of the moves and they do have that execution. But as you said, playing a little passively, but no more than most. It's a fairly common tactic from this start, I can imagine. And, I'm just waiting to see where it comes to. Obviously, a little bit of a step up from their previous tactic of the all-in push. Who do you think's got the better sort of positioning so far, or the better advantage?
Well, it does look like Evil Panda Squad are starting to head forwards, creep forwards in those IS3s, maybe looking for a little bit of aggression, maybe looking for a quick peek up against anything that Drooling Leprechauns are left around their cap. Maybe even go for a quick base cap like we saw previously on this map. from Lucky Cracky against Virtus Pro in that first matchup on match day 1. Sensei is going to be in trouble. He does cross. Raging Potato might not be ready though.
Well, he's going to try and find out as much as possible. He's got every bit of information he ever needed, and he's actually avoided the fire so far. I can't believe it. He's staying alive. Oh my word, Sensei. Somehow he has avoided 4 shots coming through so far, wasting these guys' ammo and making them work for their meal. But this is a very quick push from EPS, getting themselves into that cap circle. Raging Potato is, however, in trouble. Sensei still alive. Finally goes down, but here comes the fire coming in. Polswed gets removed as well, and now Lucas and Eclipse in the firing line, coming in from Jack, coming from Kirex, and let's see how they're going to make this one stick. Muppety, Message, and Snake Guy Finn both doing work, but Muppety's now been called out on his own. But Lucas is left on nothing, surely going to fall. He's taken down Krillix, but there's the response coming in. But I've got to say it, EPS are looking dangerously low here.
And EPS have still got well, they haven't got much left. They've Raging Potato and Eclipse are still down pretty low. And Drooling Leprechauns have those IS-3s left. Raging Potato's trying to do as much damage as he can, but here comes Snake Fin Guy.
Yeah, moving in for the kill. Raging Potato does not have reload available. Numocho as well, trying to spoil his team. Eclipse exchanges the shell. Snake Guy Finn still going on this one. The cap is underway. 3v1. Snake Guy Finn's in trouble here. He's going to have to be careful because Numocho does not miss these shots. He's not the man you want to be tangling with. Eclipse takes one from the back. He's down extraordinarily low. 103. The cap still underway in favor to the Leprechauns. Touch back into place by Numocho. Raging Potato down to a whisk here. Nothing, surely even a strong breeze would take him down in this situation. Finally, Jack comes around. Snake Eye Finn gets another. They need to get these guys out of the game. Here we go, finally, 2v1. Numocho, the last man surely standing in this situation, who can do real work. Yankees has had to move back, but Numocho's doing the work. It's a 3v3. Base race is underway. Numocho is in trouble. Jack does the damage, and now we're left down to Yankees and Eclipse to try and stay alive and do something here. Something incredible. Message getting back up on that reload now. Going to be staring down at Eclipse, and surely this is going to be ended here right now. Jack takes him down, and now just Yankees alive in a 1v3. The Leprechauns on the verge of victory. Jack and Message just have to find him and land those shots.
You have to try and do as much damage as he can. Yankees is hoping that he can get away with this one. He's going to go and reload, go for a last stand situation. He wants all 6 shells left in that autoloader, left in that turret, so he can maybe take down one tank, but 1,800 damage, that's how much 6 shells from the SA-47 supported by the AMX 5100 can do. 1,500 left on Message, 619 left on Jack. That's way too much HP for the AMX 5100, and I just don't think he's done it. I just don't think he's got enough damage unless he gets extraordinarily lucky, but he's still going to go for it.
Well, Jack will be the first on the scene. Jack, the lower of the two. Maybe going to wait for Message to come around. Yes, he is. Smart play from Jack. Not going on the solo battle here. Yankees will just be on reload any second now, but Jack lands the first. Good play from him. Yankees is now in severe trouble. Message moving in from the side. It's a 2v1, and it looks like the luck was on the Leprechauns' side in this one. Jack is low, but Message still fully healthy here. Surely going to come around for the killing blow. Yankees can't do anything but die, and the unexpected result has come in. The Leprechauns have done the job overall with a 2-1 victory. Can you believe it?
Just speechless. That's all I can say. Drooling Leprechauns really stepping up. I think giant steps really from what we saw yesterday. Fantastic play all round, and proving that they even under a lot of pressure from Evil Panda Squad. And although Evil Panda Squad, such a good idea, such a valiant effort to stay alive, they just got caught out so badly. I mean, how did Sensei move from that position?
How did he stay alive?
I honestly, everyone's like, oh, why did you pick tier 1s? Not as much as they used to, but still, that's the reason. Sensei he rotated around, spotted the whole of Evil Panda Squad.
Game over instantly, pretty much, for that push.
A game over. Evil Panda Squad were like, I don't know, the only option Evil Panda Squad had was to retreat, which would have maybe extended the game a little bit, but Drooling Leprechauns would have come around and got the shots on them either way, but they should not have gone forwards. Evil Panda Squad, once they were spotted, they were just like, oh, it's too late, we've crossed the line. They went forwards, they tried to cap, and that was just a bad idea. and you know, you gotta really give it to Drooling Leprechauns hitting that tier 1 as they tried to hide behind the 5100 and cap. That scuppered Evil Pan Squad's chances of capping. That means they had to go forwards. They got the worst of both worlds. They lost too much HP, and although the 5100s did carry Evil Panda Squad through, I think, the triple IS-3 just didn't work out too well. It extended the game for Drooling Leprechauns a little bit. Just too much damage done to that team, and a well-deserved, well-earned victory for Drooling Leprechauns, their first of the season.
Yeah, and credit to Jack picking up 5 kills during that game. Not the top damage,
not
but
too bad.
not too shabby all in all. So very well done to him, and what a brilliant victory to take. EPS, who trashed Isuba quite comfortably. A little bit of a worrying sight maybe for the rest of their league. What do you think this means for them? Is it back to the drawing board, or maybe just don't underestimate new opponents?
They looked a little bit overconfident today, and maybe that's indicative of their breezy victory against Isuba yesterday. And yeah, I think maybe not underestimate opponents too much. I think they thought that this would be another 3-0. Obviously didn't turn out that way, didn't turn out good for them, but yeah, don't be too overconfident against new teams. We say it every season, and I'm going to say it again. You said it already, so you guys, if you're an old team, treat these teams with respect. They've all earned their place.
Certainly have, and we'll see if Isuba can really take on TCM. Maybe TCM will be prepared for this one and won't go down in, well, hail of shells like we did see EPS just do. So guys, that'll be the next match coming up, but before we get to that, we're going to have a very quick break, but the lady you've all been waiting for will be coming up for you guys. Melly will be taking our place and telling you guys at home exactly how you guys can get involved with us here in the studio. So guys, stay tuned, we'll be back in about 5 minutes.